Alright, so this game is Hexcells, and we're going to do a playthrough of it. It's very similar to Minesweeper, but it's got some differences. First off, we're dealing with hexes instead of squares, but the game will really explain that, so let's go into it. So we need to remove orange hexes to reveal the pattern underneath. The number under an empty hex tells you how many adjacent hexes are part of the pattern, meaning how many of them are blue. Left click to mark a hex as part of the pattern, right click to destroy hexes that aren't part of the pattern. So for instance here, this has a 6, which means that all 6 of these adjacent ones are blue, so we would left click on them. Similarly, this is 0, so none of these 6 adjacent ones to this hex here are a part of it, so I would right click on them. Now, these 3 are still a part of it. This 0 refers to all of the ones that are adjacent, so we know that this one is also not blue. And that one. But this one does have 1 adjacent to it, so this one is blue. And once we've revealed all of the orange hexes to be either blue or black, then we're done with the level. You can make mistakes. You'll get these end game hexes. You'll get more of them the fewer mistakes you make. And, you know, that's the puzzle. So we're going to go through the whole game. There are 3 different Hexcells games. We're going to go through each of them. Probably not all at one time. Definitely not all on one video. But we'll go through them and see how it goes. So let's start on this one. So this one has 2 adjacent to it, and there are only 2 hexes that are adjacent, so we know that both of these are blue. Same thing holds for this one. Both of these 2 are adjacent, so they're both blue. Same thing holds here and here for this one. This one only has 1 adjacent to it, so it's blue. And this one has 5 adjacent to it. We've already got 5 blue adjacent hexes revealed, so we know that this one is not blue. And then this one has 3. We've already got 2. This will be the 3rd. And so this one's a little more tricky, but we can figure this out easily. So this one has 2. These 2 are already shown to not be blue, so the remaining 2 that are adjacent to it are. So these 2. Same thing holds true for this side. Now for this one here, just like with these other 2, there are only 2 that are adjacent that could be blue, and so both of them are. And then for these 2 here, there aren't any new ones that are adjacent, but it still holds that there's only 2. For these 2, we already have these 2 adjacent that are blue for this one, or these 2 that are adjacent for this one. This one is also adjacent to both of them, but we've already got our 2, so we know that this one can't be blue. And then this last one needs to be, because this one is blue, and it's the only other adjacent one. Here we know that neither of these are, and we know that this one must be, because it's adjacent to both of these. This one must be blue because of this one. And this one cannot be because this one already has a blue one adjacent to it. And that leaves this one to be. Neither of these can. This one can't. This one can't. This one must be because it's the only one that's adjacent. Same for this one here. For this 2, we already have one of them, but there could be, there is exactly one of these 3 that is blue that's adjacent. So we're not sure just based off of this 2 here, which one it is, but we can look at this one and see that there's only one option. It has to be this one. And since these 2 are blue, then these 2 can't be. We know that this one can't be because this one here is already adjacent to this one. And then we know that this one must be because it's the only other option for this 2. This one already has 2 adjacent to it. This is the only option for this one. These are adjacent, so this one can't be. And then here, this is the only option for this two. This one already has two adjacent to it, so we get to clear out both of those for free. Alright, so we've got this 4 with 4 adjacent. This 1 already has 1 adjacent. And then this 2 or this 3 means that this one needs to be. Same with this one. This 1 already has 1 adjacent, so it can't be. 0. This 1 needs to be. And then this one has this one, so it can't be this. 0. 1 for both of these. And then we know that this one is adjacent here, so neither of these. The only other option for this 2, we already have the 1 here, is this one. Similarly, this one here for this 2. Okay. For this 2, it could be either of these two. And you might say, oh, well, it needs to be this one, because it would be adjacent to this one. However, this one could be adjacent to this hex here, and then this one couldn't be blue, and then this one could be blue, and it would still work for everything. So we're not sure which one of these two is, but we can move to another area and then come back. So for this 2, there are only 2 options, and both of them are blue. This one's not, and this is a 0. So because of this 2, we know that this one in fact is blue, and since this one is blue and this one's only adjacent to 1, this one's not. So that situation that I explained before is exactly what happened. And then this 2 here already is adjacent to 2, so that one's gone. Now we have these 2 that are floating out here. They're not adjacent to anything. We can't get any kind of information from the numbers surrounding to know if these are supposed to be blue or black. However, up here we see that there are 2 remaining and there are 2 hexes remaining. This remaining is talking about the number of blue hexes. So since there are 2 hexes remaining period and 2 of the remaining hexes are blue, we know that both of these are blue. That's the end of it. Alright, so this 3 has these 3. This 4 has those 4. This 2 already has these 2 adjacent. Alright. This 1 already has this one. This one already has this one. This one only has 1 available. This 3 only has these 3 available. These 2 are already adjacent to this 2. Same for this 2. Going back to this 4, we know that this one and this one are black. That leaves 4 adjacent ones. So that completes that 4. This one is adjacent here, and then this one is forced to be here. This one's already adjacent. Now if we look at either of these 2, we know that this one needs to be blue. Okay. Moving down to this 3, we have these 2 as blue and 1 more option, so that one needs to be blue to make it 3. This 3 already has 2 adjacent, so it needs to be one of these 3, exactly one of them, but we're not sure which one. We need to look over at this 4 here. This 4 has 4 adjacent hexes that need to be uncovered, so all 4 of them are blue. Just like over here, this 2 is adjacent to 2 blue ones, so we know that none of these are. And we said earlier that this 3 had these 2, and then one of these 3 was blue. Well, both of these got eliminated, so we know that this one needs to be blue. This 2 is already adjacent to 2 blue ones. This 1 is already adjacent to a blue. This one is already adjacent to a blue. So we're good there. Now looking at this 1, it could be either of these 2, so we're not sure which one, except if we look down at this 2, it's already adjacent to 2 blue ones, so we know that this one can't be. And now this one is. This 3 that we just uncovered is already adjacent to 3 blue ones, so we know that this one's not. And then lastly, this 4 means that both of these 2 are blue. We can also see up here, again, that the 2 remaining are both blue, so that's another indicator. And I think, yeah, this is the last level for the first grouping. So let's go ahead and clear this one out. A good place to start is by looking at the zeros. We can just mark those as black for free. Those are easy. Both of these ones mean that this one needs to be blue because it's the only one that either of them are adjacent to. And then this one is already next to this blue, so both of these are cleared out for free. This one only has this one adjacent to it, so we get to mark that as blue. And this 2 is adjacent to these 2 blue ones, so this one's cleared out. The only other option for this one here, and for this 2 here, and for this 1 here, means that this one is blue. This one is only adjacent here, and that's one of the adjacent 3 for this hex here. So we know that 2 of these 4 are blue, 2 of the 4. This 1 is already adjacent to this blue, so this one can't be. This one only is adjacent to this one, so this one must be. This one is adjacent here, so we get to mark both of these off for free. And this 2 tells us what we need for the third one here. The only other hex that this 2 is adjacent to is this one, and currently it's only adjacent to 1, so we know that this is the second one. Now this 3 is adjacent to 3 blue ones, so we get to mark this off for free. This one is here. This one is already adjacent, so this one's cleared. This 1 is here, the other is here. Then we can move along this direction and say that this 2 has 1 here and the other 1 here. So those are the 2. This 2 here is adjacent to this 1, so we know that one of these 2 is blue, but we're not sure which one. But if we come up to this 3, there are only 3 options, and 3 of them are blue, so we know that all 3 of them are. This one is already adjacent here, so we get to mark both of those. Another 0, and now this tells us that this 2 means that that one's blue. We get to come back up here and mark this one as black because this one is already adjacent here. Moving down here, there are 2 adjacent ones. This one is already adjacent. This one is already adjacent. Another 0. This one means here, which is adjacent to this one, so we know that this one's not. And this 2 is. Okay. Moving up here, this 2, just like the ones over there, is adjacent to these 2. This 1 is already taken, and now this 2 means that this one's forced. This 2 is adjacent to these 2, so this one's not. This one already is adjacent, so this one is black. This one means that this one is blue. And lastly, this one is already adjacent to a blue, so this one is black. Again, we have this last floating one, but we have 1 blue remaining, so we get to mark that for free. And that's the last level of this first group. So we'll move on to the second group here.